This is a personal finances dashboard which you are going to build. As you can see, it summarizes personal income versus expenses on a month-on-month basis. At the top, we have a filter where the user can click year 2020 and everything else will reflect that year. When a user clicks 2019, all the numbers and the figures and the charts will filter to show for 2019. This is an interactive dashboard that we are going to build. As you can see, a dashboard is a single page interface that gives a summary or an overview of the performance of something. In our case, we have distribution of income by source type. We have salary as the main source of income, consultant service income, and cake business income. This shows the distribution of expenses. They have been sorted also in descending order. This main chart area shows month-on-month expenses versus income. As you can see, the person had the highest income in March, followed by August, followed by April for the year 2020. And then in 2019, the person had the highest income in November, followed by February, and then followed by June. This dashboard is intended to summarize someone's income and expenses for a certain year. As you can see, in 2020, the month-on-month income is not really increasing. Of course, we have some huge spikes in March, April, and August, but the general trend is almost remaining the same. Maybe the person might need to consider investing in additional source of income or growing the existing businesses. The same also for 2019. As you can see, there were some spikes in November, June, and February, but the general trend is the month-on-month income is not really increasing. A dashboard is very important because it gives you a summary of your income. You can see the month-on-month trends. You can see the largest contributors to your total expenses. Remember the saying, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Tracking your expenses and income is a very important component of managing your financial life. This is what we're going to build in this exercise. That's the data that we are starting with. We need to add more columns. We have two tables, date, with the first table, income and expense daily data, and item names and categories data. We need to enrich this data with more columns for item name and item category. And then we make use of this table as our source data for our pivot table. So as part of building the dashboard, we are going to make use of pivot tables in Excel, and would like to have our data source in one table. We could have related these two tables by making use of data model in Excel without creating one big table. There are many lookup functions in Excel. With VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, we can use a combination of index and match, or we can use XLOOKUP. Microsoft recently released powerful lookup functions that are more flexible, like the XLOOKUP. In this course, we are making use of the VLOOKUP. We enter the formula. It expects a lookup value, and our lookup value is actually the item ID, as the two tables are related via the item ID. So the item ID is actually in cell C5. Since my formula is cutting across the cell C5, I have to click item ID and then move my down arrow, then comma. It expects a table array. Table array is the table that you want to look up. Now is this one. You don't need to select the header. Since we are going to be copying this formula downwards, we need to fix this one, our table array. And if you click F4, it's done. Then core index num, this is the column number whose value we want to retain. The VLOOKUP function will search for the lookup value in this column, and it find, let's say, 1 in this, and then we want to tell it that it must retain salary, which is in column number 2 after selecting our lookup table. We have to put a range lookup, which is either true or false. False for exact match. That's what we want to put. Now it's inserted. If I click the column I want to align left, I can click this filler handle and double click. It automatically fills for the rest. Then on category, we do the same. Make use of VLOOKUP. Tab automatically insert the formula. The lookup value is the item ID. The table array is this one. F4 to fix, then comma. When you look at our table array, we want to return something, a category that is in column number 3. We put a 3, then false. Now we have our category. For the first row, we double click the filler handle and it automatically fills. Now we have our table that we want to use. We want to format it as a table. First, formatting as a table gives us a lot of advantages, especially automatic inclusion of additional data that we are going to add to our source data. I can use the shortcut Control T, or if I come here under Insert, Table, and then you must have your cursor positioned within your data or within your range. My table is headers, okay. Now my table is inserted. Automatically, when you click anywhere within the table, you see this contextual table design. You click, let's give it a descriptive name. Income, make sure you give descriptive names without spaces, just expenses, daily data. Now we have our data formatted as a table. The next stage is to create summarized tables. We can create these summarized tables by making use of formulas in Excel, but in this approach, we're going to make use of pivot tables. They allow us to quickly summarize, perform some aggregations, look at our data from multiple perspectives and dimensions. They are a powerful tool for data analysis. Having your cursor positioned within your table, click Insert, and then Pivot Table. Now, it automatically picks the table name which you have given it, and it asks us whether we want to insert the pivot table on a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. Now we click a new worksheet. We add to the data model usually when you want to import multiple tables and then relate them together. But in this case, since we've put all our data in one table, we are good to go. We click OK, and our new sheet is inserted. Now we are going to create 3 pivot tables. From our dashboard, we saw that we have a main chart area with a month-on-month expenses versus income. Then we have another area with distribution of income by income source type. We have also another area with expenses by expense type. We have 3 main charts that we want, but for us to create those charts, we need to create summary tables that power those charts, and pivot tables are the summaries that you want to create. We have inserted a pivot table. Now it gives us an interface to build the pivot table. The first summary chart requires dates under the rows. As you can see, Excel automatically groups data for us when it detects a date data type, but we do not want this quarter. We only want the year and the month. We remove, you click on the quarter, left click, hold, and then move outside. When you see an X, release, it's deleted. Now if you can expand, you can see it's now those are our rows. As our columns, we want actually the category. We want to summarize expenses versus revenue, and then for the values, we want to put the values as amount. A pivot table gives us a functionality where we build a summary table through a drag and drop functionality. It's a low code or a no code tool which allows us to build a quick summary of our data within a limited amount of time through just a drag and drop without making use of formulas. They are a very powerful tool in Microsoft Excel for data analysis. We now have our table. Let's format it. As you can see, if I right click anywhere, like let me just click anywhere within the revenue, summarize value by, they've used the sum which we want the sum to be applied. That's our aggregation function. I want to do a number format, number. I want to apply 1,000 separator and then 0 decimal places. I do not want this grand total column. If I go under design, grand totals, I click off for rows and columns. Now the table that I want for the first chart, I might want to rename this but for me, it's fine. I'll put proper names on my charts. Now, this is my worksheet pivot table 1. For the first chart, let me give it a name: expenses versus income analysis. Let me duplicate it, left click, control, and then move to the right. When you see that down arrow, you release, it will duplicate it. Let me give this a name. Let me call it income distribution by source. I just need to rearrange to remove what I don't want here. I don't want the year, it's not by date. Let me remove category. I want to see the income distribution by income source type. I need to make use of item names as my raw values here. And then the values are fine, but now it's including both expenses and also the income types. So I need to apply a filter of category here. And then when I drag category under filter, I come and click and select only revenue, then okay. Now it's selecting revenue. For this one, I might want to name it is income. Did we name this one? Maybe let us give a descriptive name, income, as well, so that we are consistent in our naming. That's income. For this one, we are also going to make use of the totals. Granted totals, we want it for columns only. We need the total. That's it for income distribution by source. We want to duplicate it again and create expense distribution by type. Control, left click, and then drag to the right. When you see that down arrow, if you want to insert it just after this one, or if you want to insert to the far end, you release it when it's in this position. But I want to insert here, release. Now, expense distribution by type. This is a similar structure like the one we did for income distribution by type. I just need to change the filter to expenses. Now I have it, it's correctly formatted. I now have my 3 summarized tables which I created through pivot tables. Let me create the pivot charts on top. Click anywhere within the pivot table. Let's start with income versus expenses month on month. Under pivot table, analyze. This is a contextual tab that comes when you position your cursor inside. If you click outside, it goes. If you click inside, it comes. Now click pivot table, analyze. Then we click pivot charts. That's what you want inside. Let me click OK. This is a pivot chart. I do not want to see these filled buttons. If you right click, hide all filled buttons. When you click the chart, you see this plus. It gives you more options that you can configure. For us, the legend, we want it, if you click this R, we want it to be on top. We also do not want to see these grid lines. In addition, the color, let me stretch it. If you click any of the bars representing the income, it will automatically select all the bars for the income. If you right click and then format data series, this format data series pane will come up. If you click this fill and line, we actually want to change the color. The color for our revenue should be, I want it to be this blue. My expenses and my income now have the same color. Let me change for the expenses as well to black. Since I know that the lower bars reflects the expenses, I click any of the expenses again. This pen is still there. I click here. I click the black color. Now I have my expenses versus income chart. Let me go to the income distribution by source. For this one, I want to create a donut chart. Let me click inside and click pivot table, analyze, pivot chart. I go under pie and then I click this donut chart. Again, I do not want to see these feed buttons. Add feed buttons on chart. I want to add all feed buttons. For the colors, since on my income versus expenses month-on-month analysis, I put blue on income and black on expenses. On this one, I want to keep blue on income as well. I'm going to use a different shade of blue for each one. For the larger ring, let me double click it to select this one only. If I come here, I'll see it's darker. It's gray, so I want to put the same color that we've used previously. And then for the second one, I want to put a lighter one. I want a lighter, yeah. For the smallest one, I want to put a even lighter one. That's it. Let me give a descriptive title: income distribution by income source. That's it. Let's also create another chart. For this one, we want to create a bar chart, as we want to show want to compare various categories where we see what is the largest contributor to the total expenses. With your cursor positioned inside pivot table, click pivot table, analyze, then pivot chart. We want a bar chart. Let's click this one, and the horizontal one is okay. We do not want the field buttons. Right click and then add all field buttons. If you click this plus, it expands. We do not want to see the grid lines again. Also, we don't want to see the legend. And also for the color, we want it to be black as usual, like we did under expenses versus income month on month. Now we give it a descriptive title: expenses distribution by expense type. We also want to add data labels, and we want our charts are complete. It's now time to build our dashboard. Okay, before we build our dashboard, we also want the total amounts. Since we are going to be referencing the total expenses and total revenue in the text boxes, let's also have them total. The reason why we will not be referencing directly this total is because there seem to be challenges with referencing subtotals or grand totals in pivot tables from text boxes. I reference them through another cell. Automatically a get pivot data function is inserted, and then let me format this one as amount. Let me remove the decimal places. That's total expenses. For income distribution, total income, let me reference this one. Okay, let me format as well as current accounting format, then no decimal places. Now we have it. So we now want to build our dashboard. I want a gray, a shade of gray. I think this one for my background. Let me copy this one and I paste it here. Border. We'll see currently my charts contain some outline. We want to get rid of the outline. We go under border, then click no line. Then let me also bring in the one for income distribution, Control X. And then let me bring also for expense distribution, Control X. I paste it here. I want to resize them. For this one, I think it will be good if I give it 6.14. Let me resize it. Let me give about 14 by 9. Yes. For this one, let me also resize it 9 by 4.13. For this one, set manually. Now I want to sort my data. This is the expense description data. Right click in a pivot table, sort smallest to largest. Go back to our dashboard. We now have our data sorted. I want to insert a slicer. If you select any of the pivot charts, you go under pivot table, analyze, you click insert slicer. I want to insert a slicer for year. Okay. Our slicer comes up. It contains these other things to reflect blank values. Right click, you go under slicer settings. We want to hide items with no data, and also we do not want to display the header since it's clear to see that it represents years. With your slicer selected, if you go here under slicer contextual tab, currently we have one column, but we want it to have 3 columns so that we only have 1 row. 3, that's it. We want to choose a proper height, like we have used 0. If I click any of the slide, it's filtering, but it's only filtering this main column. If you select it, you go under slicer, report connections, you see that only one pivot table is selected. You tick all the pivot tables. You should have named these pivot tables, you should have given them descriptive names. That's the reason of applying proper names. Since we just inserted pivot tables and you do not give names, they will appear as like this. You can only see by the sheet name. It's easier to see. Our filter is only filtering one chart object, and you want other chart objects to be filtered as well. If you click it, go under slicer, you click report connections. As you can see, it's only connected to one expenses versus income. Other 2 sheets for expenses distribution and income distribution are not connected. You click this one. If you click OK, they're all connected. If you've put all the charts under one sheet and pivot tables under one sheet, it's good to give them a proper pivot table names so that you can easily identify them here. So, okay. As you can see, everything is now filtering. We are left with values in these columns. For income, you select the text box. When you select it, go to the formula bar and type enter. Then go to the sheet with the total income. Yes. For this one, select for expenses equals, go to the sheet for expenses distribution total. We want to be consistent in terms of our formatting. We want to apply Kanda, and then we want 18 font. We also need to be mid aligned. For this one, we had applied Kandara. Yeah, okay. Yeah, for this one, we want to apply Kandara again. For the revenue amount, 18. Yeah, this one. Let's see if they are responsive. Yes, they are responsive. We've finished building the personal income versus expenses dashboard within a short space of time. If you want, I was very fast. If you want a step approach where I explain each and every step and many other concepts, please, I've included links to our comprehensive training for a very affordable fee. If you want a comprehensive training, please enroll through the link or just contact me and we will discuss your requirements.